In the vast and unforgiving skies, there are stories of planes that vanish without a trace, and stories of flights that defy all reason. But the story of Flight 571 is one that continues to haunt the world to this day. A journey that began with promise, but soon became a nightmare, from which there was no escape. This is the story of the Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571, a flight that was supposed to carry 45 souls from Montevideo to Santiago, Chile. But what began as a routine flight on October 13th, 1972, soon spiraled into a struggle for survival, one that would leave the world questioning what truly happened. What happened to Flight 571? On that fateful day, Flight 571 took off from Montevideo, Uruguay, carrying 45 people. Among the passengers were members of the Old Boys Rugby Club, their friends, family, and crew. The flight was expected to take just over 2 hours, but hours later, something went horribly wrong. The plane, a Fairchild FH-227, disappeared from radar. No distress signals, no emergency calls, just silence. The plane had been navigating through the Andes Mountains, an area notorious for its unpredictable weather and treacherous terrain, and then, without warning, it was gone. After several days of searching, wreckage from the flight was found high in the Andes. But the discovery was not a relief. It was just the beginning of an unimaginable ordeal. The plane had crashed into the side of a mountain at over 12,000 feet, with several passengers sustaining life-threatening injuries. The survivors were stranded in one of the most remote places on Earth, with no food, no water, and limited supplies. The crash site was so isolated that rescue operations were nearly impossible. They were forced to rely on their wits, their willpower, and each other to survive. Days turned into weeks, and the survivors were faced with unimaginable choices. With no food to sustain them, they were left with only one option: to survive by any means necessary. The passengers, many of whom were athletes accustomed to endurance, soon realized that the only way forward was to resort to cannibalism. In one of the most controversial and harrowing decisions in modern history, the survivors chose to eat the bodies of those who had perished in the crash. This act of desperation would haunt them for the rest of their lives, but it was their only means of survival. Meanwhile, a massive search operation was launched. Rescue teams scoured the mountains, but the wreckage was difficult to locate. The survivors, who were now barely clinging to life, had no way of signaling for help. As the days passed, the situation grew increasingly dire. The survivors had no way of knowing that help was on the way. The vast and inhospitable terrain made it nearly impossible to spot the wreckage from the air, and rescue teams were left in the dark. After enduring unimaginable hardships, two survivors, Nando, Parrado, and Roberto, Canessa, made the courageous decision to leave the wreckage and trek through the Andes to find help. Their journey would become the stuff of legend, a testament to human resilience. With only their courage to guide them, Nando and Roberto traversed the most unforgiving mountain ranges, surviving on scraps of food and sheer determination. After 10 days of grueling travel, they encountered a farmer who alerted authorities to the location of the wreckage. After more than 2 months in the wilderness, the survivors were finally rescued. But only 16 of the original 45 passengers made it out alive. The story of Flight 571 would become a symbol of survival against all odds, and the debate over the moral and ethical choices made by the survivors would continue for decades. The survivors returned home as heroes, but the scars of their ordeal remained with them. Many struggled with post-traumatic stress and guilt over the decisions they had been forced to make. Yet, despite the horrors they endured, their resilience became a symbol of human strength and perseverance. Today, the story of Flight 571 remains one of the most remarkable tales of survival in modern history. It challenges our understanding of human endurance and the lengths we are willing to go to stay alive. But it also raises a deeper question: what are we willing to do when survival is all that matters? Flight 571 remains an enigma, a haunting reminder of the thin line between life and death. The survivors have told their story, but the mystery of what truly happened on that mountain still lingers in the cold, wind-swept peaks of the Andes. Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is how far humanity will go when faced with the ultimate test of survival.